Do you know the words spring, summer, autumn, and winter, but still don't know how to talk about seasons naturally in English?
Then this lesson is for you.
Our lessons are built to help you understand the topic more easily. First, we give you a real dialogue so you can hear the English naturally in context.
Then we come back and explain the most useful phrases step by step so the topic feels clearer and easier to use. Let's get into the conversation.
Hi, Daniel. Today's topic feels simple, but people actually talk about it all the time.
Hi, Eva. Yes, definitely. Seasons come up in everyday conversations so often when people talk about weather, mood, routines, holidays, clothes, energy, and what time of year they enjoy most.
And a lot of learners know the names of the seasons, but they don't always know how to talk about them naturally.
That's very true. They may know spring, summer, autumn, and winter, but they don't always know how to describe what each season feels like or why they like one more than another.
So let's start simply. Do you have a favorite season?
I think I probably do, yes. If I had to choose one, I'd say early autumn is my favorite.
That's interesting. Why early autumn?
Because it still feels fresh and open, but without the heaviness of hot summer days. I like the cooler air, the softer light, and the feeling that things are changing a little. It often feels calm, reflective, and quite comfortable to me.
That sounds like such a natural description. So for you, autumn is not only about temperature, it also has a certain mood.
Yes, definitely. I think seasons affect mood more than people sometimes realize. They change the atmosphere of daily life.
That's such a good point. What about summer? A lot of people immediately say summer is their favorite.
Yes, and I understand why. Summer has a lot going for it. The days are longer, people spend more time outside, and life often feels lighter and more social. But personally, I don't always enjoy very hot weather, so it depends what kind of summer we're talking about.
That makes a lot of sense. So you like some parts of summer, but not all of it.
I like the longer evenings and the feeling that people are more open to doing things. But if it gets too hot, I start to feel tired and uncomfortable quite quickly.
That's very real. I think a lot of people feel that way, especially when places aren't built for hot weather. What about winter? How do you feel about that season?
I have mixed feelings about winter. I like some parts of it, the quietness, the darker evenings in a cozy way, and the feeling of staying in and slowing down. But I also think winter can feel long if it's too gray, too dark, and too cold for too many weeks in a row.
Yes, that makes complete sense. So winter can feel cozy, but it can also feel heavy.
Exactly. I think winter is one of those seasons that can feel lovely for a while, but difficult if it goes on too long without enough light or color.
That's such a good way to say it. What about spring?
Spring is probably the most hopeful season for me. It feels like things are starting again. The days get longer, the weather begins to improve, and there's usually more color outside. Even if it's not fully warm yet, the whole atmosphere starts to feel lighter.
That's beautifully said. So spring feels like a beginning.
Yes, definitely. I think spring gives people a kind of emotional lift. After a long winter, even small signs of change feel important.
That's so true. Things like more daylight, flowers coming out, and warmer air can change your mood a lot.
I think spring often feels more powerful than people expect because it brings energy back slowly.
Do you think your routine changes depending on the season?
Yes, quite a lot actually. In warmer seasons, I naturally want to spend more time outside, walk more, and make more plans. In colder seasons, I become more home-focused. I want quieter evenings, warmer food, and less rushing around.
That sounds very natural. So the seasons don't just change the weather, they change your habits too.
They affect how people live, not only what they wear.
That's such a good line. What season do you think is easiest to talk about in English?
Probably summer at first, because people know a lot of obvious vocabulary for it. Hot, sunny, holidays, beach, travel, long days. But I actually think autumn and spring are more interesting to talk about because they have more mood and change in them.
That's a really interesting answer. So summer is easy, but the transitional seasons can be richer in language.
Yes, definitely. You can talk about things changing, getting warmer, cooling down, leaves falling, flowers appearing, days getting longer, and so on.
That makes a lot of sense. So if someone asked, "What do you like about autumn?" what would you say?
I'd probably say that I like the cooler air, the quieter atmosphere, and the fact that it feels more comfortable after summer. I also like the colors, the clothing, and the slightly calmer mood that often comes with it.
And if someone asked, "What do you not like about winter?"
Then I might say that I don't enjoy how dark it gets, especially when the days feel short and gray. I also find it harder to stay motivated if the weather is cold and gloomy for too long in a row.
Yes, that's very realistic. Do you think people often connect seasons with emotions in English?
Yes, definitely. People say things like, spring feels hopeful, summer feels light and social, autumn feels calm or reflective, winter feels cozy or gloomy. So seasons are often about emotional atmosphere as much as weather.
That's such a useful point. And I think learners often need exactly that kind of vocabulary, not just weather words, but feeling words too.
Exactly. Because in real conversation, people don't only say, it's cold in winter, they say how winter feels to them.
That's so true. What about favorite season questions? That seems like a very common small talk topic.
Yes, definitely. People often ask, what's your favorite season? Do you prefer summer or winter? What time of year do you like most? Do you like autumn? How do you feel about winter? And those questions are great because they're simple, but they open up quite natural conversation.
That makes a lot of sense. If I asked you now, what season suits your personality best, what would you say?
That's a good question. I'd probably say autumn because I like quieter energy, softer weather, and a more reflective atmosphere. I enjoy seasons that feel calm rather than extreme.
That sounds very true, actually.
What about you? Do you have a favorite season?
I think I'm more drawn to spring. I love the feeling that the world is opening again after winter. The light changes, people's energy changes, and everything feels a little more possible.
That sounds lovely. So for you, spring feels uplifting.
Yes, definitely. It feels fresh, hopeful, and full of movement. Even if the weather is still mixed, I still like the direction it's moving in.
That's such a strong phrase. I like the direction it's moving in.
Yes, because I think that's exactly what this topic is useful. Seasons are simple enough for everyday conversation, but they also let you speak about mood, habits, weather, preferences, and personality.
Exactly, which means this topic gives learners a lot of useful real English.
Okay, now let's look at the key phrases from the dialogue and see how to talk about seasons in English more naturally.
Yes, because this topic is not only about naming the seasons, it's also about describing weather, mood, atmosphere, and what changes from one part of the year to another.
Let's start with the most basic language. If you want to talk about seasons themselves, you need these core words: spring, summer, autumn or fall, winter.
And remember, autumn is more common in British English, while fall is more common in American English.
Now, if someone asks you which season you like, these phrases are very useful. My favorite season is spring. I'd say autumn is probably my favorite. I like summer most. I have mixed feelings about winter. I'm more drawn to spring.
These sound much more natural than just saying one word and stopping.
Yes, definitely. Another very useful part of this topic is describing how each season feels. You can say, spring feels hopeful, summer feels light and social, autumn feels calm and reflective, winter feels cozy, winter can feel gloomy. The whole atmosphere feels lighter. It has a quieter mood.
This is really important because real conversation is often about feeling, not just facts.
Now let's talk about the kind of weather and physical changes that happen in different seasons. Useful phrases include, the days get longer, the weather starts to improve, it gets warmer, it starts cooling down, the leaves start falling, flowers begin to come out, it gets darker earlier, the air feels cooler.
These are excellent phrases because they help you describe seasonal change naturally.
Yes, and that makes your English sound much more real. Another useful thing to talk about is how your routine changes with the seasons. You can say, I spend more time outside in summer. In colder months, I stay in more. I want quieter evenings in winter. I make more plans in spring and summer. My routine changes depending on the season. The seasons affect how I live. These are great because they connect the topic to real daily life.
And if you want to talk about what you like or dislike, these phrases are very useful. I like the longer evenings. I don't enjoy very hot weather. I find winter a bit long sometimes. I like the colors in autumn. I love the feeling of spring. I don't like how dark it gets in winter. These are very natural opinion phrases.
Yes, definitely. So if we bring the key language together, here are some of the most useful phrases from today's lesson. My favorite season is probably. I have mixed feelings about. It feels calm, hopeful, cozy, gloomy. The days get longer. The weather starts to improve. It starts cooling down. I spend more time outside. I stay in more in winter. I like the longer evenings. I don't enjoy very hot weather. The seasons affect how I live. It feels like a change of rhythm.
That's a really strong set of phrases.
Yes, and they're all very useful in real conversation. And now let's put everything together into one natural answer. My favorite season is probably spring. I like it because the days get longer, the weather starts to improve, and everything feels lighter. I also enjoy the feeling that things are beginning again after winter. In spring, I usually want to spend more time outside and make more plans. Overall, it feels hopeful and fresh to me.
That sounds clear, natural, and very easy to use.
Exactly. So, as you can see, talking about seasons in English is not only about weather words.
It's also about mood, atmosphere, routine, and how different times of year feel to you.
Exactly. And that's what makes your English sound more natural, more descriptive, and more real.
And if you enjoy lessons like this, don't forget to subscribe.
It really helps the channel grow and reach more people.
And it helps more learners practice real, natural English.
So, subscribe, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next lesson.
Bye!